TLDR, don't take it personally. We can all have a little laugh. I'm here trying to help. Hey everyone, this video is not particularly for having new content on my channel. This video is so that I can have it to reference back to during critiques, or if anytime someone might take issue with something I say during a critique, I will have this publicly stated and out there that I can point them back to. But if you got nothing better to do, then here's a new video. So these are the rules and the foundations for how I conduct photography critiques. Rule number 1. Do not take this personally. I completely understand how hard you work for your photography. I understand the amount of time that you've put into your craft, the amount of resources that you have poured into your craft. I understand the passion that you have for your craft. I get all of that. And I am not here to tear that down. We all have to remove ourselves from our work sometimes and get a fresh, objective, third-party look at it. And I know that that can be difficult to hear sometimes, but it's how we grow as photographers. I too seek out others to get feedback on my work. So take a deep breath and take a look at your work through someone else's eyes. And remember, what I'm saying about your work is not what I'm saying about you. Rule number 2. These are simply my opinions. I believe they're educated opinions. I've been around the craft for quite some time now, and I have sat through many a critique session of my own. I have critiqued others. I have listened to the critique of others critiquing others' work. I have heard people critique the critiquer. So I've been around a lot, and I am not short of opinions and thoughts about this craft. Have you ever watched one of those audition shows and someone got up there and just did a horrendous job of it, and the judges sitting there in the front just ripped them apart? Then they went back into the little waiting area and their mama was there and they're like, "Don't you worry about what that mean old Simon said about you, honey. You will always be my star." So I'm not your mama, and I'm gonna not treat you like you're one of my kids. I'm going to give you honest, fair critique. Number 3, and I've gotten in a bit of hot water about this before in the past, so I need to go ahead and address it now. If I am making a joke about a picture in your portfolio, or I just say something kind of funny, don't take that personally, and I don't want your subjects to take that personally either. I know that while you're getting a critique, that the subjects of your photographs, unless it's like a mountain or an owl or a product, may also see the critique, and they may start to feel like I am critiquing them as a person. They too should not take it personally. While I do take photography seriously, I also don't take it too seriously. We are not curing cancer with our cameras. And so while it's important to take a critical look at our work, sometimes for a little levity, might have a little laugh. Speaking of your subjects, let's take, for instance, you may hear me say something like, "A pretty girl does not a model make." And the subject of your photograph may take offense to that. I have photographed many people in my life. And I can tell you that I have had beautiful, amazing people in front of my camera, and I have had a very difficult time taking pictures of them. I've also had people in front of my camera that are like, they're a good looking enough person, I guess. But then I put my camera on them and something changes. Let me tell you this little story about a lingerie lookbook I shot once. So I'm hired to photograph this lookbook, and the client was like, "Don't worry about casting. We're going to take care of all the casting of all the talent." And I'm like, okay, great. That's one thing off my plate. That's on you guys. So the day of the shoot comes, There's a knock on the door. I open it. There's a girl standing there. She's in sweatpants and a hoodie, and she's like, "Hi, I'm here for the photo shoot." And I'm like, "Oh, come on in. Yay. Hair and makeup's right this way." In my mind, I was thinking, thank God I did not do the casting, that this is not my responsibility. Well, she was, attractive. She was like, not model material whatsoever. At least that's what I was thinking. So she comes out of hair and makeup and wardrobe, steps onto the set, and I'm looking at her. I've got my camera, and here we go. Here's my day at work today. And I take a picture, and I look at the back of my camera, and let me tell you something. She was stunning. There was something about her in 2 dimensions that I can't quite describe. I had to work really hard to not physically show how stunned I was by looking at her and looking at my camera and looking at her. So I say all of that to say is that if you submit your work to me to critique and there's something that starts to go down the road towards fashion, and I really don't feel that your model, male or female, is very good for that, I will say something. That's not me saying they're ugly or they aren't attractive enough or they can't do it, because honestly, a lot of it comes back down to you as the photographer and how good of a director you are. So they may be pretty awesome, but you may not be a great director yet. So if I see something like that, say it. Please tell your subjects not to take it personally. Thank you very much. Okay, where are we? Number 4, work I am good at critiquing and work I'm not that great at critiquing. Commercial and editorial photography is my bread and butter. That's what I do day in and day out. And that can run the range of anything from portraiture, whether studio or location, to product, again, studio or location, and many things in between. So I'm well versed and well experienced on talking about that kind of work. I have also photographed hundreds of weddings in my lifetime, so I can speak to wedding photography. Way deep down in my heart of hearts, I'm a photojournalist, and I've been around photojournalism for many, many years. And while I'm not a daily shooter, I know enough to be dangerous, and I can speak to that. I'm not a fashion photographer, and it's not really a genre I work in, although some of my commercial work kind of dances onto that line. I am educated enough about fashion to a point that I can speak to and reference others. Where I get lost is things like nature photography, landscape, wildlife. I don't even remember the last time I saw a 400 millimeter lens. So I'll say, wow, that's a pretty picture. Okay, but I don't know. I'm not a wildlife or nature photographer, so I'm really not the best person to speak to that genre. I will say this though, if you submit your work and it says something like a nature photography gallery, and it's dandelions in your backyard and the ducks down at the local pond in the park, I'm probably going to be opinionated about that. Imagine that, me, opinionated. Never, never. Number 5, I will not use your full name or provide a link to your work in the critique anywhere that I post it. I understand that you may not want a critique of your work to show up in Google search results. So wherever I post this, whether it's on YouTube or on my blog, or if I tweet it out, I'm not going to put your full name in the description or a link in the description either. Number 6 is I will only critique work that person has personally sent in to me to critique. So if you're like, I want Bob's work to be torn up by this son of a I'm not going to go and critique your friend Bob's work. I will critique your work, but I'm not going to critique somebody else's work that you sent in. Number 7, and this is very, very, very important. Please listen carefully. Anything I bring up as an issue in your work is an issue in my work as well. Y'all, I cringe every time I post a critique online because I know that I'm bound to say something about someone's work, and then you can all go right over to my website and say, Zach, you're just as guilty of it too. Yep, I am. Listen, I am not the great whatever coming down from my mountaintop on high and telling you how photography should look or not. I am simply your peer. I am a colleague of yours. You come to me, you say, Zach, can you give me some feedback on my work? And I will give you feedback on your work. And I know that as I critique your work, the same kind of things can be said about mine. I know that. So imposter syndrome is very real with me. I get it, I understand it, and that's how that is. The fact of the matter really is I can't critique my own work. When I need to get a new portfolio together or I need to update my website, which I definitely need to do as I sit here and talk about it, I get other people's opinions on my work. I pay other people to look at my work and help me edit. And I'm in desperate need to start doing that again. Number 8 is my heart is here to help you. It really is. While I may say harsh or critical words about some of your work, I'm also going to be looking for your strengths. I'm going to be seeing what you are doing well, and I'm going to try to speak to that. Again, I'm not here to hold your hand or baby you or treat you like one of my kids and put your work up on the refrigerator and say, you're doing so good, kid, thanks, it's great. But I'm not going to be a raging ass about it either and tell you that you should just hang up your camera and leave and never come back. I once did one of these online critiques that I do, and I critiqued a person's work, and I got an email from them a few days later, and they just simply said, I've taken my website down, I'm never going to do photography again. And I almost decided at that point I'd never do another critique again in my life. If a critique from me makes you want to just sell your cameras and give it all up, then please do not send your work in to me to critique. I don't want to dash your dreams upon the rocks. I really don't. And I know in my life there are times that I really can't handle any negative words said about me, and I'm in kind of a bit of a fragile point. I understand that. So at that point in my life, if I'm in one of those kind of places, I'm not going to ask for critique. If you're in a place like that, I get it. So don't send your work in. Unless it's really awesome and then you need a little boost in confidence. But it better be good. Rule number 9, and the thing that I keep in mind, we all suck, okay? We all take bad pictures. We all do a poor job at times. Sometimes more than others, but we all suck. Unless your name is Dan Winters. I saw a Dan Winters picture pop up in my IG feed the other day, and I was like, yep, that's it, I'm done. I don't ever want to take another picture again. He's so good. Damn you, Dan Winters. Rule number 10, if I'm counting correctly, is not so much a rule, but a thank you. Thank you from me, and thank you from this entire community of people that watch these critiques for being brave and stepping up and throwing your name in the hat and saying, I will go out there and publicly have my work looked at and critiqued, because honestly, I'm hoping to benefit you, but you need to understand you're benefiting the entire community that watches these videos. You will see often, many times in the comments, people say, wow, that wasn't my work, but I learned a lot from this, and I could see some of the same things in my work, and it gives me some ideas of things I need to change or move around. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you for putting up with my fidget pencil, because as I'm starting to shoot these videos again and I'm editing myself, I am like, what was wrong with my hands? Why was I constantly doing? My hands have to be moving or doing something. I am like an 8-year-old. Maybe I'll just glue them to the surface. Also, if you'd like your work critiqued, then drop it down in the comments below. And I can't get to them all, but I'll try to get to as many as I can. Thanks again, everyone.